When does reinventing a character just become replacement of that character? You know, I have no problem with reinvention. That's something I want to make very clear. It's not the problem. Reinvention. Batman exists because of reinvention, you know? Different writers, different eras, different tones, you know? And Batman's been through a myriad of tones, and he can work in a lot of different tones, you know, depending on what you're working with. However, there is always a line between reinvention and pure replacement, you know? And when the said story crosses the line, it stops being about what this reinvention could make you understand about this character, and it's more about, you know, the swapped out idea. And that's where Absolute Batman really just doesn't get me, you know? I have been seeing for the last couple of months people talk about Absolute Batman to ad nauseum. You know, they praising it to the high heavens. At the time of this recording, there's even merch coming out of it, you know, as expected for something that has garnered a significant popularity, you know. It's the nature of things, you know. And while I personally think that the source product is not worth said merchandise, I, however, understand that when something becomes popular and they become smart enough to capitalize on said thing, you know, you can't really do anything about that, you know. But the problem is the replacement of Batman that I'm not fond of. It is the replacement of everything that I believe is the core values of what makes Batman work, you know? A lot of people like to talk about how this version of Batman is a blue-collar worker. He does a 9-to-5, various jobs, construction work, that kind of thing, you know? He's not a billionaire. He doesn't have access to so much godly fuck you money. However, it doesn't quite work in that regard, given the fact he's running around with wacky equipment that really the other Batman would be paying for, and that 9-to-5 thing doesn't really apply all that much, except for some small superficial things that don't really pan out there. You're having a Batman who is very hardcore and brutal. And sure, you can say it's because of the Darkseid thing, because Darkseid created this world, therefore it's gonna be more brutal, so why shouldn't Batman be more brutal? But however, this particular version of Gotham only feels like a regular Gotham, you know? There's nothing distinctly different except for the drastic change of how certain villains are. And even then, those changes are just, they're not really anything new or fresh for the characters. They're just, hey, let's take character A and just change so much crap about him. Let's turn him into a Dark Souls monster, and there you go. There's nothing there that really sells me this idea. It just feels like, hey, here's Batman, let's just take away everything that really makes him the core values of what Batman is, and just fiddle around with it, you know? A lot of people like to praise and meme and have a little fun with Absolute Batman because, you know, of the hype moments of when Batman is running around with a battle axe chopping people's wrists off and fighting psychotic-looking monstrous beings like Bane and Joker and Mr. Freeze and whatnot, you know, these Cthulhu-looking monstrosities, you know, but I never really see people talk about the character. I never really see people talk about how, like, the story, really. It's more like, oh, everyone's more interested in, oh, I want to see what this version of this character is going to look like, or what's this crazy thing got to be? Because if Batman is this 7-foot tall giant behemoth with a battle axe he wears on his chest, well, what the hell does this character got to be to counter that, type thing. That's all the discussion becomes. It's no longer, hey, what's the kind of interesting stories could you tell with this universe? It's more just, oh, here's what can we do with this new character? What's this wacky new coat of paint can we throw on there? What's this new shiny set of keys we can jingle for 5 seconds? And granted, I have to set the stage again. I am a hater. I am a self-admitted hater of Absolute Batman. I read the ever-loving fuck out of it. I read 2 other Absolute titles besides Batman. One is Absolute Wonder Woman, which I love a lot. I think it is probably the best one out of the entire roster I've read. And the other one is Absolute Flash, which I'm pretty alright on. There are some things that I'm kind of okay with, some that are not, but I'm kind of still in the middle entertained, and that's fine enough for me. Everything else I have not really kept up with, mostly because I fell off or just didn't really capture anything for me, Batman, however, is a special case. Now, maybe I'm a Batman purist. I don't know. Maybe I am just someone that wants to have Batman be a certain way, And I can admit that's a little bit of a prickish way to look at it, even if it is true. But hey, that is what it is. It's just, you take away so many things in this quest to have a fresh slate and change up stuff, You change the idea of what Batman is. Like, even the core parts that form him, Because in Absolute Universe, only Bruce's dad gets shot. And his dad gets shot during a school field trip where his dad is chaperoning, and they're at the zoo, and some guy goes in and does a mass shooting. Now, I saw a particular article on Screen Rant, which, yes, I know, Screen Rant, pretty stupid. I'm pretty sure I wasted a lot of brain cells just tracking the article down. But this one said that the new Batman movie should steal this idea because it would be a great way for Batman fans to relate to this version of Batman by connecting a mass shooting event to the character, when it's like, what? That makes no sense, because we're already connected to the characters. Like, no one could really understand the feeling of being a 10-year-old child watching your parents get gunned down in an alleyway while going to the movie theaters, No, it has to be this way. And while it's a very specific thing from Screen Rant, I feel that represents a wider thing I'm worried about, is this replacement. I feel like people want to put Absolute Batman in for the main one. They want Absolute Batman to be their main boy. Like, they want nothing but him and only him to be adapted or touched at all. Like, I'm seeing a bunch of people talk about how they want TV shows and movies and all sorts of stuff and stories done with this character in other media. A form of a damn particular comic that hasn't even had 5 years. Whilst a lot of people are still waiting for perfect issues, perfect adaptations and runs of other mainline Batman titles, that kind of thing. And I don't even feel like this version of Batman is worthy of the attention and the praise, but again, it is a subjective opinion or whatever. I don't know. It is different strokes for different folks. I know that I am not in the group with it. I am against the pack, so to say. Having Batman be this like crazed, jacked up dude chopping up people and setting people on fire, if you like to acknowledge the annual issue as canon, which I don't know why you would. Even if you are a fan of Absolute Batman, I feel like that annual does more harm than good, because it's not even consistent with its own lore of the series it's meant to be an annual of, but, it is what it is. And it, because, well, what are you getting? They don't even do anything with the concept of it. It's like, oh, here's Batman, but he's not super rich. It's like, what do you do with it? You don't really do anything with it. It's like, okay, he's got multiple little hideouts, and it's like, okay, but you don't do anything with it. He's acquired a Batmobile that he's retrofitted to basically do Transformers level shit. It's like, okay, still not really doing anything with that 9 to 5 thing. And we're at about 20, 25, 26-ish issues. Wait, no. We might be less. I don't know. I know we're kind of getting close to about 20 issues, I think. I could be, give or take a couple, but we're getting near that mark. And they haven't really done much with it. Like, there was a lot of build-up, a lot of setup, if you will, Like, you had the first couple issues was all about Black Mask, and then it's kind of revealed that he was only a bit player at the end of the day for Joker, who's like kind of the real big bad, and in the middle of that you had Bane, and that was kind of like a whole thing, and that sort of got wrapped up. Now they're sort of sprinkling out a little bit of stuff with Joker, and then teasing off some stuff with like Scarecrow and Deathstroke and Man-Bat and Poison Ivy, who just got revealed. And while that design is pretty alright, I know that there's going to be some weird Lovecraftian Dark Souls monster that's going to pop up out of that, because that's sort of the nature with this kind of thing, It just doesn't feel like Batman to me, and I'm worried that this version of Batman is going to overtake the OG, the Prime Batman, and this is not a Batman I feel like I would really want people to see, I don't know. Maybe I'm just being a salty bastard. I'll admit that, you don't have to tell me twice. But this is definitely not the Batman I would ever give to, say, a small child, obviously, because of the mature tone. This just feels like it's edgy for the sake of edginess, different for the sake of different, type thing. Because it's all just about what can we do different, because it's a fresh slate, fresh universe. We don't have to follow any preconceived notions or pre-established things. We can do whatever the fuck we want. So what can we do? Let's do some crazy shit, Let's make Batman have a weird hook system in his cape that can, like, gut people. Give him a battle axe and watch him chop off people's, arms and shit. Let's have Killer Croc and Bane look like Lovecraftian monsters. Let's have Joker have all the money and all the stuff that Batman would have in the regular world. And he's also like a weird evil demon guy that's feeding on babies or something. I don't know. It was kind of weird and left very vague, but that kind of thing. It just doesn't feel like you're telling a story anymore. You're not telling a story of, oh, here's this Batman going on his crusade against crime or whatever, and let's see what the background really tells about this character. It's you're not getting that. It's just, hey, let's see what we can do differently for the giggles, you know? And that's kind of it. It's just different for the sake of different, replacing for the sake of replacing, without really taking into consideration what made the good shit good, you know? Like, there's a particular reason people resonate with, you know, Batman losing his parents in the alleyway, because it just works. Sometimes things just work. They fit well. And sure, you can tweak them a little bit. You can have a little bit of fun with them. I mean, certain stories even had there be a reason to why Bruce's parents got killed. Either because they were fiddling around with the mob, or in the Nolan trilogy, like they were trying to help the city, and the League of Shadows essentially caused the events that led up to his parents getting shot. The Telltale series and the Matt Reeves one had it to where it was very clear that that Falcone had a hired hand go in and kill the Waynes, you know, that kind of thing. Even terrible damn shows like fucking Batwoman. Wait, no, not Batwoman. Gotham Knights, actually, go about how the Court of Owls was all behind it, you know, that kind of bullshit. You know? It's that kind of thing. You could still tweak it around a little bit, but there's a reason why that core piece is there, why it makes so much sense. And when you're swapping around all these dynamics and relationships and histories, it just doesn't work. You know, like you swap Alfred from being a more caring parental figure to Batman into a gruff, begrudging kind of character, to the point I mean, most of the time Batman and Pennyworth are just like kind of growling at each other half the time, and it doesn't even feel like are these two supposed to be in a good working relationship? I mean, they sort of work together, but they don't. But it never feels like there's any friendliness to them. You have Catwoman, who is probably like her relationship with Batman, as small as it is in the context of the story, is probably the best part of Absolute Batman, if I'm gonna be honest. And it's very brief, you know, just her being kind of supportive, but there's like a reason for that. And I don't know, maybe it's just because, you know, the mainline universe hasn't been really too great in the pickings there, but hey, whatever. There's not much to go off of there. Then, like the Waynes, like how Bruce acts with the relationship with his parents. I mean, Martha is there, but it's not really enough to do anything with. And his father is not really mentioned as much. It's like he's kind of put in here or there. There's nothing there to like have him reflect on, you know. And they try to supplement it with him thinking about his friends, but they don't really come into it as much, except maybe in the last couple of issues where, you know, the Bruce's actions have a repercussion, and on a number of them, especially like most of them except for Selina. And there you go. But it's just like, like, what are we doing? I mean, at what point does it become reinvention and like instead become replacement? But that's all I've really got to say, you know? I know it's a long-winded little rant, I guess, about Absolute Batman. I wanted to do something about this topic, and I figured, fuck it, you know? Let's just have a little babble session. Now, if you enjoy me talking about Absolute Batman, please leave it down in the comments section below. Maybe we can have a discussion about it, you know? Or maybe you can just tell me I'm a goober. I can go for that too. I could go for that too. If there anything else you would like for me to talk about in the superhero comic book world, please leave it down in the comment section below. Perhaps I will do a praising video, I guess, of Absolute Wonder Woman, because you know what, I feel like enough time has passed where I can kind of talk more about it and really get my 2 cents on it, you know, and really let my mind known on that kind of thing. But yeah, I'd like to thank you all for coming along and watching. See you all next time.